Welcome to Seeking Out the Next Generation, or SO for short. This is a podcast dedicated to finding young people from all walks of life with interesting experiences and stories to share. Our focus is not on those already in the social media spotlight. Instead, we are seeking out everyday people who we can relate to and whose stories have the potential to inspire us, regardless of what we're doing in our own lives. So, let's get started.
I think I've always been a bit more why not than some other people maybe.
Yeah.
And just a bit more proactive in that nothing's impossible, and if you've got like enough people, enough contacts, enough like support around you, you can pretty much do anything within reason.
Hi there, I'm your host, David Marr Roberts. This week we meet someone whose positive and can-do attitude helps her cope with grief and create some amazing opportunities. This Seeking Out interview was carried out by our researcher, Ella Marr Roberts.
So I'm Alice, I'm 19, I'm a software developer and sometimes musician. I live in a little house in Westbury.
Now, I think it's fair to say that Alice didn't always want to be a software developer.
I genuinely didn't know what I wanted to do this time last year. I definitely was swaying more towards events and music because that was what my interests were in.
Yeah.
But I also didn't know this whole side of coding and being a developer existed as far as it being so creative and so design based. I kind of had that really stereotypical idea that it was for gross men in basements that were just hacking stuff. And that was sort of all of my perception, probably from like movies and stuff. And that was, as far as software development goes, that was kind of it. And I really genuinely thought it was way above me and you had to be some intellectual genius to even begin to comprehend how to make an app from scratch. And I think that was probably the most significant thing as to why I didn't ever consider it, is that I just didn't think I could. And I didn't think that I was smart enough, I was the right type of person. I don't like maths, I don't like science. I think that's probably why I was a bit scared of it, really, because I didn't know what it entailed. I didn't think I was capable of it. I didn't know that development was such a cool industry, full stop. I didn't know tech was like an option.
The question has to be, why is tech not seen as an option for girls at school?
We were trying to work out at what point people lose passion for tech.
Yeah.
And it's about year 9, year 10.
Yeah.
And it's when they stop hanging out with their dad who's into tech, and they start hanging out with their girlfriends and going and doing makeup and stuff, which is 100% fine. That's what I did. That's not the issue. It's that at some point they think, I can't do it. From a very early age, I thought most girls write off maths or science if they're not extremely good at it.
This is Hannah Sweet, who works with Alice at Software Developers Rocket Makers.
For me, I think women often don't realise how creative tech is, because it can look really dry and really logical and also quite sort of insular and you're alone and you're at a computer and you're just typing away. We really need to show people that whole spectrum of where they could fit in. And yeah, like I say, focus on those two things, how creative it is and how collaborative it is as well. When you've got people like Alice, doing what she does creatively and technically and, being open and willing to share that with others, it's a really sort of powerful way to bring more women into technology.
It's really heartbreaking because there are so many people who would be such good developers, and even like the people who are more into design, like I was at school, like the graphic design, it blows my mind that we were designing web pages, but nobody ever had a conversation with me about how to build a web page.
Yeah.
And that was such a logical step, even just to have that sit down and be like, oh, by the way, this is all code. If you want to ever make a website, here are some resources, or here's someone you can go speak to. That wasn't ever given to me.
Okay, so tech was clearly not on Alice's radar during school, and it was not something that was pushed. Mind you, at the same time, Alice was much more into creating her own music, and even though she felt that school didn't see her potential as a musician either, that didn't stop her.
It was such a heartbreaking thought that my music teacher just didn't believe in me because I didn't have the theory skills that she considered was made a musician, which is bizarre, but my dad just taught me that if it sounds alright, you can sort of you can just sort of make something and nobody's really going to question it. They assume you know what you're playing. Most of the time I didn't know what I was playing, but yeah, I really found kind of a voice with it, and I don't know why and I don't know how, but just words always seem to kind of like come. And
well, yeah, your lyrics are very, very poetic, and
well, I do like poetry, but I can't write poetry. I don't know why. It just seems odd, that music. I don't know. I would always be like scribbling in like the margins of my school books and whatever, like words that I'd heard that I was just interesting words like that I hadn't heard, and I was like, this could go in a song, and like suddenly it'd start rhyming, and then suddenly it'd be a little lyric, suddenly it'd be a verse on the back of my maths book. No matter what happened, if I could write a song about it, and maybe like a really nice song, maybe a really harsh song, maybe a song about something I hate, maybe something I love, like it's always been kind of the fallback for getting out the words I just couldn't say. And I think that was especially significant when my mum passed away, and it was like the only thing that sort of made it feasible, because that was, I remember, this is a bit less joyful, but the last time I saw my mum, I gave her my first EP, and I know that she was so proud of me. Like, you could see it in her little face, and she texted me, the last text was that she was listening to my EP.
You always said I was your angel, and now you are mine. Wish I could tell you that I love you one last time, because I love you to the moon and back, and I love you even more than that, and I wish you were here.
Alice's dad, Paul, recalls how she threw herself into her music after her mum's death.
So yeah, Mum died September the 1st, and by the 2nd of October, a month later, she had recorded an EP, written it, recorded it, and set up an EP launch for friends and family. And for Alice, it kind of was her grieving process, really, to write about, honestly, what she thought about her mum, how she missed her.
It's a really difficult thing to deal with for anyone, but I now have songs I can play and listen to that make me think how proud my mum would be, rather than how sad I was about it.
Kiss me goodnight, and you have made me who I am. We are the same shoe size, and I see memories of you in every word that arrives.
Songwriting was a really important part of how she tried to cope with grief. Alice being Alice, though, she didn't stop at recording. She wanted an outlet for her songs.
Everything that I do, or every project I've done, has always been solely selfish. It's been a trend. So originally, when I was 15, when I started these unsigned music nights, it was a monthly music night for just young people to have a place to play their music, to go and watch music that wasn't going to be a pub or wasn't going to be a venue that had to be super expensive. And I made it because I didn't have a place to play and play my music, and that was the root of it. Again, very selfish.
They were looking for somebody to try and do a young person's music night, so Alice straight away jumped on board. She said she'd do it, and I think the first night we had about 8 or maybe 10 paying guests, and for anybody else that would have been, this is it, this isn't going to work. But she kept on, she kept booking bands, acoustic artists, any young people really in the area, and within a year or so there was 100+ people there every week.
And out on Cavendish Drive, my face was painted the red and white, and boy, where the brick went through our window. I remember purple cars and winters of snow, and I'll sit in the closet that fell down the stairs. Mouse holes in walls, and I wish we were still there. Smoke rings and violins, and we are packing up more boxes of things in 5 schools in 1 year. And I will live it all again just to know that you are here.
I kind of grew into it as well as it grew around me, which is really nice, and it was really fulfilling, like to sit at the back of the room. I never wanted any credit. I've never like introduced the night or anything because I'm not great at public speaking. But I didn't want the credit. I just wanted to sit back and know that I'd created something that people were enjoying, and that was like enough. Probably an underlying theme for everything I like doing. I like to put on an event to see it from the back of the room, see everyone having a good time. Like that was the validation that I did a good job, that like everyone was smiling, everyone was having a good time. And it's the same feeling that I get from when an app gets launched. It hasn't broken. And it's successful and people are using it and people are reviewing it and being like, this is great. Like that's the same feeling for me.
So Alice, the singer-songwriter and the organiser of unsigned music nights in a market town in Wiltshire, becomes a software developer. But can she swap music for coding to get the same fulfilment?
I don't write now because I don't have any emotions I don't speak about.
Yeah.
And it's kind of rubbish because I don't write songs anymore. And people always ask me like, oh, you still writing, Alice? Like, you got any new songs coming out? And it's difficult because I feel like I write when I'm sad. And I guess I'm kind of happy. I'm kind of too happy to have anything to deal with now, which creatively is rubbish.
But also you've come into like a new form of creativity through like software development. Like it's not, you have a new outlet.
Code's a bit different in that I can't just make it up and sort of botch it because it will break. And like very much kind of the songs were never perfect. I sort of sometimes made bits up and played chords that I made up. And with code it's very different in that you're not allowed to make it up because it won't work. It's like painting a picture, but sometimes I use words and write songs, sometimes I'll use code and make a website.
And she's found a job now that she loves, she's always had that creative side. She does bits of art, music, design, but seems to be at the moment she's all those things kind of all rolled into one, and she loves her job, which is amazing as a parent because you're just happy to see them happy.
It's just kind of opened up this door of I could genuinely create anything. And I just think that's so exciting.
So before we can end this week's episode, we're going to induct Alice as a seeker of the next generation. So welcome back.
Thanks, it's good to be here.
Excellent. So at the end of each one of the episodes, we like to thank the people we've been talking about and talking to, and sort of invite them to become an official seeker of the next generation. So what does that mean? I hear you say, yeah.
Do I get any badges?
Yeah, there might be a Blue Peter-like badge that might come about at some point. But mainly it means that there's two things. It means you're sort of committing to seek others that might have stories that they could share with us, and maybe introducing them to us in the future.
Yeah, I'm up for that.
So that's point one. And then the slightly more difficult one is sharing some wisdom. So we're really interested to know what either inspirational quote or mantra you use. It could be multiple ones that help to either guide your life or guide you at any specific point, and why you've chosen that one.
Yeah, so this probably isn't an official mantra or inspirational quote. It's something that I say to a lot of people, especially at work, and it's celebrate every little victory. And I think especially working in like tech and development, like to be able to celebrate just a little thing that you've achieved is really good, and to be able to just, you didn't complete it, you didn't get where you needed to be, but you're further along, hopefully, and you've learned something, and that's what I take away. And I like to just kind of put that into my life and think, okay, fine, today wasn't quite what I expected, but it's a little victory, and I'll take it.
Celebrate every little victory, or celebrate every victory, no matter how big.
Completely.
That's fantastic advice. Yeah, I think that everybody could benefit from pausing and just celebrating the things that that matter, the victories that matter.
Yeah, I think we get caught up in trying to aim big and trying to just, the big picture and getting eventually where we want to go, rather than just saying, I'm here, I'm closer, I'm one step, as opposed to marathon.
Yeah, step by step. Brilliant. Thank you very much.
No problem.
Special thanks to Alice McNeil, her dad Paul, and also Hannah Sweet for giving us their time to make this episode. Thanks also for giving us permission to use Alice's music.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Seeking Out. If you would like to nominate someone who you think would have a great story to share in a future episode, please get in touch with us via Instagram, Twitter, or on our website, seekingout.fm. We have many more stories to tell, so please subscribe to the podcast on iTunes or Google Play, or anywhere else you get your podcast from. And if you like what you hear, it would be great if you gave us a 5-star rating. It really helps with people finding us. Seeking Out is supported by Dialect, the content and media agency that specialises in the art and science of audience engagement.